Okay.
Okay. Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Murtiveda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satiguru Pranatoshmaham Om Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. You are going to say something, Mark? You have a consideration, question, something to share?
Yeah, well, it's a comment really. On Monday's Panchadasi class, the last sentence on the first paragraph of page 48 says, Jiva Atman minus the thoughts is called Para-Atma or Brahman. This identity is the essence of Vedanta. But what I'm inquiring about, it says Jiva Atman minus the thoughts is called Para-Atman or Brahman. Surely Jiva Atman...
Just a moment. I'm not getting it. Jiva Atman minus what?
Minus the thoughts.
The thoughts, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called Para-Atman or Brahman. But surely Jiva Atman with the thoughts is still Para-Atman or Brahman. Isn't this statement implying that we need to do yoga to reach?
No, I mean, it's we covered that last week, and we have to look into the context of the teachings there, okay? There, we were trying to establish the nature of Jivatma as Paramatma, okay? But the moment that the Jivatma sees the world, and then immediately it becomes, I would say, ignorant. Avidya comes into play because it sees the thought of himself and the thought of the world, and then sees duality, and then it becomes a jiva, I would say, bound in samsara. Okay, and then you say if we consider the jivatma minus the world, you know, it is the same in nature. So within the context of the teachings, this question was not arising, otherwise I would have brought it myself, okay? So if you want to read a little bit what was being said before, and then it could refresh my mind a little bit.
Okay, yeah. It says, okay, differences belong to...
Page? Which page is it, sorry?
Page 48, the first paragraph.
Thank you, thank you.
Differences belong to thoughts, not to consciousness. Plurality belongs to thoughts, not to consciousness. This is a fact at all times and places, in every state of mind. Consciousness is called Chit. It is that because of which I know what I know. Existence, eternity, is called Sat. Eternity is freedom from mortality. Mortality means change. Freedom from change is called Ananda, bliss. The self is Sat Chitananda. Jiva Atma minus the thoughts is called Para-Atma or Brahman.
Yeah. So it begins saying that consciousness, Satchit, consciousness plus the Sat is what? Is Mithya, is the world. Is that what it says?
Differences belong to thoughts, not to consciousness. So yeah, basically it doesn't say that exactly, but it says differences belong to thoughts, not to consciousness.
So when consciousness is under the influence of Maya, and then there is a thought. No? So energy brings about the word, the verb, or the thoughts. So the thoughts creates the world. Yeah? So every time that consciousness is under the influence of Maya, it superimposes this world of diversity, plurality, that which belongs to what? Belongs to Maya, belongs to Mitya, belongs to thought and objects, and the diversity or plurality, multiplicity of objects is the same thing as multiplicity of thoughts. So when thought come into place, and then we have the world. When we remove the thoughts, and then we'll have consciousness in the pralayan, let's say, condition in which Maya finally went to sleep to give a break to consciousness. So just playing with it. So now we have consciousness. It's like, oh my God, thanks God, these people did not really stop superimpose thoughts on me. Although it does not affect me, it gives me a little itching. Let's say I'm just playing it again, So now Maya stopped doing that, and then we can say, from our standpoint, that consciousness minus thought is Satit. Okay, with the thought it becomes Ishvara, Jiva, and Jagat, which is all a byproduct of thought, and then in the end. Paramarthananda or James says that Jiva-Atma minus thoughts, because Jiva-Atma is Paramatma in its fundamental essential nature. Minus thought, okay, it is what? It is Brahman, it is Paramatma, okay? So it's not a suggestion or indication that one needs to go into Nirvikalpa Samadhi. No. It's just we need to understand that the world and of objects and the thoughts in respect to those objects, they do not disappear once self-knowledge is properly retained. You understand? So it does not disappear. It's just a question of understanding that my true nature is the one free from the superimposition of thoughts and objects. Okay, so the yoga people believes that freedom depends on the removal of thoughts / objects. But as we know, it is a strange sort of freedom, because when you remove thoughts / objects, or objects / thoughts, you feel limitless. Okay, but then when that mental state changes, and then again you no longer feel free, limitless. You understand? So you feel again limited, because now thought came back. And then if that's the case, and then there is no freedom is not something possible, because one cannot stay forever in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So when we say that Jiva-Atma is consciousness minus thought, it's just for a means to understand one's fundamental nature cognitively, intellectually. You understand, my nature is consciousness, and my nature is consciousness, limitless, infinite consciousness, with or without the thought of the object of the world, of the universe. So if there is, when I'm in deep sleep, I am a limitless consciousness. When I am awakened, there is the world and the universe appearing, and the thought of everything that comes with it. And then I'm still limitless. So it's a good point, Mark, because we have been hammering, and Vedanta hammers on this, that we do not need to remove the world and the thoughts of the world to realize our limitless nature. In fact, we can only realize it at all times by the means of understanding it, and never by the means of establishing a certain mental condition which is subject to time and modification, because it is, the mental condition is mitya, and everything is mitya, is subject to time and change. So it can only be attained, gained, or recognized or established by the means of understanding. There is a lot of these small equations that may appear. James often presents this equation: this plus this plus this is that. What is mitya? What is consciousness plus maya? But there isn't such a thing. You cannot go back and say, okay, and then now we have to establish my nature as consciousness, and then I say, then it is It is Brahman minus the objects or the jiva, and then minus Maya, minus this, minus the, you understand? All of that, our human experience or our world experience is not really a mathematical form. It is just a question of understanding that plus, plus, plus equal to samsara, minus, minus, minus equal to freedom, but it's not something to be taken literally, these equations, because it needs to be added and subtracted in our understanding only. You understand, Mark?
I do. Thank you, Arlindo. Yeah, just for clarifying that.
Yeah. And did you understand, Claudio? Okay. Anything else?
I was thinking this week about the interesting topic of the ego that we talked the last week, and I want to ask you, due to the fact that you had a lot of experience with Nisargadatta, so you work a lot about the sense of I, this famous sense of I. I don't work in my experience on that. So can you suggest, it's for me, it's like something that I want to explore or know better or recognize better, because I see when in my meditation or in my nididhyasana, you know, when I reflect on the teaching, all these things, something I have some glimpse about this, no, of the sense of I, but sometimes I lost it, you know, and so I want to ask you if you have some suggestion about it, some meditation exercise or some information, also Vedantic information that can clarify better about this first, how we say, we have consciousness, then we have body and mind, this first object that we have, and then we have the other objects, but sometimes I get lost on the object. So you know what I mean?
Yeah. So this, we would have to, you began mentioning about the ego, so we would have to find a common definition about what is the ego. The ego is often present as the I thought, you know, when we have the I thought in the morning, and we say that's the ego, because it is the same I, the universal I, but now individualized. So it's individual I. So when we get up in the morning and we say I, you know, immediately this I is already wrapped up experientially with the three bodies or five koshas or things like that. Okay, it's the I defined by its human experience, specifically, you know, as a specific body-mind complex. So this is the ego. The ego is the I thought that, due to this universal power or video or ignorance, it identifies with its experiences on all levels, all the 5 levels, or even more levels if we want to keep breaking it. Okay, so what's the ego? The ego is the I thought. But just imagine an I thought that does not identify with anything that comes under that reflection. There is a reflection. The reflection is I am, I exist. And that was the meditation suggested by Nisargadatta Maharaj. And hold on, which is very close to the self-inquiry of Ramana Maharaj as well. Okay, so you just stay with the I, and then intuitively you are trying to understand what this I is. You understand? Who am I? What am I is a better questioning. Okay, so what am I? Who am I? So you are holding on to this I. Suppose that, and the instruction is very simple, Claudia. It's like hold on to the I thought. but to the exclusion of all attributes that are often attached to this I thought. So when we say I, immediately, I, my body, I feeling like this, feeling like that, I, So immediately identification with the body-mind complex and its experience come right away, okay? So I, and then immediately I'm already associated to my different levels of experience, which defines this I, my existence, and my conscious existence, okay? So the instruction is simple. It's just like stay put on this I am, I exist, thought, feeling. That used to be the instruction of Swami, not Swami, of Nisargadatta Maharaj. Okay, so you hold on. He used to say, catch hold of this I thought by the neck and stay with it. He was meaning to say, so don't add anything to it, or let this I thought catch hold of you and stop you from add any attribute to this I. So the most pure I, reflection of consciousness on the intellect, human intellect, or the subtle body, howsoever we prefer, the most subtle reflection is this I. And why he used to say it is he used to say, find a balance between the thought I and the emotional aspect. It's a balance between the thought feeling I, he used to put it. Because as we know, every thought has a feel to itself. The thought comes up in the mind, and every thought has a feel, a sense, a sensation, okay, an emotion attached to it. And then the balance was to hold on to this I thought, but and also to the sense, the feeling, the emotional aspect of this I, because a lot of people used to go for this meditation and they would say, okay, it's too mental because I don't feel anything. I'm just doing a meditation of holding my concentration on the I am, or I. Yeah? So it did not feel it take me to any pleasant experience. So why? Because the mind is not pure enough. There is still rajas and tamas there. And then that feeling of bliss, which is associated with this pure reflection. A pure reflection brings about the I am, I exist. So if we stop there, it means to say that the subtle body or the intellect is so pure and subtle that it's not bringing with the I thought, it's not bringing other thoughts, you understand? But when it brings I thoughts and it's crowded by other smaller thoughts, trying to grab, to associate with other thoughts, objects, you understand? And then one feels like in a battlefield, I'm trying to fight, to exclude all the other thoughts, to protect the I thought, and it's not much fun. But once the mind, the intellect, the subtle body is more subtle, is more purified, more reflective, and then what happens? This I thought is held effortlessly and naturally excluding the appearance of other thoughts, okay? So, and then when you have this I thought in a nice, pure reflector or reflecting medium, such as the human intellect, very sattvic. And then what it does? And then you go into the famous emotional or feeling or sensation of bliss, you understand? It's very, very bliss. Just talking about that brings me back that sense of bliss, okay? It's a thought feeling, I am, I exist, that is very, very blissful because it's a pure reflection. It's the ego, but without association to other thoughts that defines this I am, I exist, You understand? It is consciousness appearing experientially as the thought I am, which is a very blissful thought if it's not crowded by other small thoughts. You understand? And it's not it's not an easy meditation, Claudio, but I think you are prepared for it because there are many other thoughts wanting to begging for attention. You understand? And then, so you hold on to this I thought. In the end, maybe a dry exercise until your mind becomes more and more pure. And then you are going to literally experience this consciousness reflected in your pure intellect. And then when you have the reflection of your pure, limitless nature, what is the experience you're going to have? You're going to have an experience of limitlessness, you understand? Which is experienced as bliss, satisfaction, great satisfaction. Why? Because you experience the reflection of your true nature, which is I am, I exist. You know what I'm talking about, Claudio, huh? In your different techniques, you experience moments of great satisfaction, great peace, and great bliss, right? So those are states. Those are states. So when we go into this meditation suggested by Nisargadatta Maharaj, it's a meditation that requires someone with a prepared mind, prepared intellect, very sattvic, because the concentration begins with one's very sense of existence, one's very sense of I amness, you understand? So the object of meditation, Claudio, is very subtle. And it's so subtle that most people had difficult to meditate upon it. And then they would used to say, I am, on a mantric manner that did not have any feeling to it, you understand? So, but I think that you should give it a shot because I find it to be one of the most direct meditation, provide the mind is prepared for that directedness. Okay, which is holding on to an object of meditation, which is one's own sense of I exist, I am, okay? And then comes to a point that you become blissful, you experience your fullness, your peace, your satisfaction, and then you feel like not coming out of that anymore. And that is the danger of all these experiential meditations, because it produces great peace and satisfaction. And then it's easy to forget that our goal is not the experience of bliss or peace or satisfaction, but it is to inquire. So, and then when the mind is blissful, we need to remember, okay, I don't trust this bliss because I know it will change. So let me use this blissful mind to inquire, you understand? Otherwise, it's... we are stopping on an intermediary station in our journey. You understand? Our journey is to inquire to know for sure my limitless nature as consciousness. And we need to remember the teachings in deep meditation. Remember the teachings. If the mind is really rich with the teachings, it's going to remember the teachings against any subtle, thoughts about the world and the problems of the world. So the mind is going to have these final declarations, these final Mahavakyas are alive, and you just keep there, you keep using that blissful moment to recall the teachings that is going to finally establish you as that limitless consciousness. It's a potent, very potent meditation. I don't recommend very often, but for anybody who has the inclination for experiential bliss, it's a very nice meditation. It takes you direct to the bliss and the satisfaction that every meditator wants, But it can be frustrating if the mind is not prepared. Any thoughts on your side, Mark? You being a meditator, or coming from that background?
Well, just as you were saying that, Arlindo, I was experiencing it myself. The I am, without any verbs added to it, without any adjectives or anything added to it. And there is a very subtle sense of well-being within the heart, within the mind. And so, yes, I can imagine that is a very beautiful, powerful meditation. Yeah.
And we experience this same bliss and satisfaction in our classes, and even more on seminars, you understand? Because we keep reminding ourselves of a limitless nature and re-examining our experience, and then we keep clearing our doubts and neutralizing bits and pieces of ignorance that again and again compromise our satisfaction and bliss. So in a seminar, a few days or so, weeks, the mind becomes very blissful as well. You understand? Very, very blissful, just by analyzing one's experience and following the logic presented by the teachings. That's why I don't suggest anymore this experiential meditation, because I find the direct contemplation following the logic as presented by the Upanishads, I find it more reliable. Because if you suggest people go for the experiential bliss by this or that means, chances are that the person remains there and forgets about inquiring and following the logic. You understand?
The nice thing about this meditation also, Arlindo, is that it's confirming your nature.
Yeah.
So experientially, it's confirming your nature. Whereas a lot of meditation, focusing on the breath or whatever else you're doing, isn't actually confirming who you truly are. But this one is, which makes it more powerful, more beautiful.
Yeah. It's more clear. Yeah. I mean, I did many years of Vipassana before I got into this meditation, and I used to experience bliss as well and satisfaction in some here and there during my Vipassana, but it was never clear that it was about my very existence or my very I amness. You understand? It was just like, oh, something is happening here. My mind, the thoughts are disappearing, and I'm feeling good because I was staying with my prana. So, but the I amness, it has a very good advertisement there. You know, your existence, your isness, your I amness is the source of bliss. In that sense, it's very nice. At least you know that your bliss is coming from your existence, not from your pranas. You know, to believe that comes from your pranas, it's still a stage below, let's say, of identification with your higher nature, let's say, you know. So, yeah. Anything else? Shall we? Last week we stopped at the subtle body is subtler because although it can experience it's invisible. So the subtle body is subtler than the gross body. Although I can experience it, so we can experience our thoughts and emotions, it is somewhat invisible to other people. The gross body is so fully manifest. And but the subtle body is only partially manifest. So, and then we covered that extensively, and then the last paragraph say that a final important difference between the gross body and the subtle relates to lifespan. As we know, the gross body it has a short lifespan. It lives for 50, 100, or 110 years, and sometimes less, sometimes a bit more, whereas the subtle body lives more or less forever, as we know. When the gross body dies, the subtle body survives. We know it pretty well. And it takes a succession of births until it goes for a long break, a long holiday, when Maya gets tired and then brings everything to sleep, puts everything to sleep. So the next paragraph is death and the subtle body. Death can be defined as dissociation of the subtle body from the gross body. Rebirth is association of the subtle body with a new gross body. So we know that pretty well. Huh? We are no longer afraid of dying unless we are still a little bit too much attached to the meat tube, to the bag of bones and flesh and dirt water. So, but if we are no longer identified with this body, yeah, we have the comfort to know that our minds are almost completely eternal until at least until we get tired of this game of taking another birth, another birth, another birth. So we know that what they call death for us is just a change of vestments. We're changing a new body, and it's not a big deal. Oh, but you are not going to remember who you are. I mean, it's okay. I mean, remember, I'm so happy every night that I have a few hours of deep sleep that I forget who I am. So how about forget this history, that is my life history here, and then go and then receive a new body, if that is my destiny, and then start fresh again. At least you start fresh. But then our teachings are very clear. So you're going to get a new body according to your merits and demerits. So you need to elevate yourself here to be able to receive an elevate new body, right? So in a better circumstance, or maybe in a better planet, who knows? So rebirth and death and rebirth is not a big deal for us. It's just a question of staying associated with this bag of bones or leaving it behind to take a break from this madness, let's say, and come back on another time space with a fresh body, hopefully, to finish our job if we don't finish this lifetime. The subtle body is locked into the cycle of death and rebirth by the momentum of one's actions that brings about results of actions, as we know. So the subtle body seems to be locked into the physical body, and more physical bodies and more rebirths. Why? Because of its own karma, prabhada karma, sanchita karma, merits. So as long as we do things to gain something or to get better or whatever, as long as we have an investment into actions and the results of actions, which are experience. Actions always bring experience. So as long as we are invested in this cycle, we're going to be locked into another body very soon. So the subtle body is somehow bound into this cycle of death and rebirth due to the momentum of one's karma. What it means momentum? Because when I stop acting, and then I'm no longer feeding into my causal body, meaning to say I'm not anymore doing actions and then having to reap the results. But I did so many past actions that did not reap or manifest its results yet. And then the need for completion, the need for fructification or manifestation of everything I have put into the system that did not fructify yet is what is going to create a new body. It's very simple understanding, common sense. So there is a momentum there, because although the subtle body can no longer do actions because it needs to be associated or attached to the physical body to do action. Although I'm no longer a doer, but I have a lot of vasanas. I have a lot of sanchitas or karmas that need to fructify, and Ishvara says, okay, you have a lot of things that need to come as results that you need to experience, because you did all these actions to experience its results. So wait a moment, because you are not off the hook here. You're going to get a new body so that you can receive your prarabdha karma. So it's all about that. So there is a lock between the subtle body and the cycle of innumerous rebirths. Okay, and this is called the momentum of one's karma. This karma is the conglomeration of ingrained likes and dislikes. So now we are simplifying the whole concept of karma. There was Swami Dayananda used to put it on simple language. He used to like it, that, oh, karma and vasanas and this and that. It's very simple. It's just your likes and dislikes. Because our likes and dislikes is what is going to constitute our actions and the suspended results. The suspended results of our actions are the sanchita karmas that manifests as one's prarabdha karma. So it's all based on my likes and dislikes, because it is my desires and aversion that compels me to keep acting with a sense of controller, sense of doership, and so it is this sense, I am the doer and I am the originator of my thoughts and actions. Is this piece of ignorance that constitutes what we call karma, sanchita, because it's going to be suspended, in my karmic account due to this identification with the doer as the doer. Yes, Lynn?
So when there is no longer a doer associated with the sanchita and the agami, is the teaching that it just belongs to the field, and in that case, what does the karma paladada do with it?
Yeah. So the results of one's karmas, once this identification is broke as the doer, some of it is still suspended. Okay, so I'm not identified with anything right now, let's say, but there is a lot of things that I did in the past that have yet to fructify. So after self-knowledge, we hope for having enough time to exhaust our sanchitas and prarabdhas to a certain extent, so that we do not need to come back and take another birth, you understand? Because it's my understanding, if there is a lot of sanchita still needing to manifest or fructify, because there are circumstances that people are born also to exhaust some more karma, you understand? Suppose the soul is a very evolved soul, and it left the physical body with clear self-knowledge, but suppose there is still some charge, against the soul for things it has done in the past. And then the person comes back, and then it takes another body, but on a very, very elevated or favorable culture and circumstance, just to exhaust some papas and to contribute to the environment. So we should never be afraid of coming back, because if we keep doing our work, we come back on a better timing circumstance. And if we have some purpose to exhaust, we exhaust, and then very, very quickly we can be a great contribution to this world, you know, which is dense in ignorance, at least in our planet. Huh? So does it cover more or less what you said, Lynn, or not?
Well, I'm still a little bit confused because as I recall the Vivekachudamani text, it said that when there's no longer a doer, then the sanchita does not exist for the self.
Yeah, there are some passages that says that there is no sanchita karma and there is no agami karma for the yani, but there is still prarabdha karma. You remember? Okay. So the prarabdha karma is, what is prarabdha karma? Is the manifestation or final conclusion of one sanchita karmas. Prarabdha karma does not come from nowhere. You understand? Prarabdha karma comes from sanchita. Yeah. So if we say there is prarabdha karma for the yani, and then there is some sanchita, because it comes from the sanchita, the unmanifest punya papa that is in there. You understand? So it's coming from sanchita, but when certain passage says that there is no agami, neither sanchita, is because the same way sanchita it comes from our actions, from agami. So if I no longer act with the sense of I am the owner, the doer, the originator, if the sense of ownership and doership was neutralized by self-knowledge, and then what's happening? I'm not feeding into my sanchita karma. You understand? I have a load of sanchitas waiting to manifest, but now I don't do any more agami. I don't do actions anymore with the sense that I am the doer. You understand? Real, responsible. And I take shame, I take credit, I take, vanity and so on. So no, I don't do actions in that manner. So I stop feeding my sanchita load. I have a load of sanchita and then I stop feeding them. And then we say, like from this angle, we say there is no agami and there is no sanchita. And then from the same angle, we say, but there is prarabdha. Okay, but then we need to look into this in this narrative with the understanding that if the yani is not identified as the doer, and then he cannot really be identified as the receiver. You understand? So if the identification as the doer, we have this double personality as the karta, the doer, and the bhokta, the receiver. So self-realization is going to cancel the identification with the karta, and is going to leave alone the identification with the receiver. No, of course not, because self-knowledge is going to destroy all identification with the body-mind complex. Therefore, so our identification as the bhokta, the receiver, also comes together in the same package. Okay, so now I understood that I am limitless, infinite consciousness, and I don't do anything, and my jiva nature is going to do things, but all actions are being managed and by the system called Ishvara, in which my jiva nature, my inferior nature, has a certain degree of responsibility in regards to its actions. You understand? But I have established my true nature in consciousness as consciousness, and that does what? It simply cancels the sense of I am the doer, and inevitably it cancels the idea that I am the receiver. Okay, so and then the statement is that there is prarabdha karma. I already have to debate on this passage, because when we say there is no agami and sanchita, but there is prarabdha. So if the identification, as the doer comes, and then it's guaranteed that the identification as the receiver is also gone. So, but it appears that there is prarabdha karma. Why? Because the yoni may suffer terrible experience, like Ramana Maharaj, that suffered so much pain, and that pain, that cancer, has impacted his body-mind complex. And then people looking from outside gets confused. People around Ramana Maharaj in those years, during the 40s of past century, a lot of people were a bit confused and imagining that Ramana was not really a highly enlightened being because he got cancer, you understand? So if he got cancer, it's because he did something bad in the past. It's not that he has control of everything because he should not allow it to happen. No, if he got a cancer within the Vedic culture, it means he's paying for something here. Therefore, he should not be enlightened. Furthermore, there is so much expression of suffering in his face. The pain so deep that even his mind is impacted by this pain. But they don't understand that the yoni is the one who does not identify with the condition of the body-mind complex. You understand? So, and then is there prarabdha for Ramana Maharaj? No, there is prarabdha, as I have said before, more than once. There is prarabdha for his body, or we can stretch and say for his body-mind. His body-mind, yes, there is a result. And he experienced, as a body-mind, he experienced the results of things from the past. Some prarabdha karma manifest, but the yoni does not identify. Because if you establish that the yoni still do actions, but without any ownership or identification, and then what is the problem of establishing that the yoni does not accept the results either, So the bottom line is that the yoni does not have any more karma, okay? Yeah. Not that karma is not going to show up, it's going to show up. Results of actions are going to show up, but it shows to what? It shows to the body-mind complex, not to the yoni. Yeah? It's all very simple.
But I'm still confused. Because I remember Ramji saying that my karmas will not go to you and your karmas not to me. That Ishwar has this all figured out. It's got a ledger, everybody's is fair. So if, say, Shankaracharya dies, he has sanchita as he, unless, he's an avatar, but, that's up for discussion. But say he's a jiva and becomes, is free. And then from innumerable lifetimes, there is sanchita karmas. And so my question really is, does Ishwara sort of absorb that as a karma of the field, rather, because I have no problem with coming back. I love this place, it's beautiful. But I would, I'm just curious about how Ishwara, as the giver of the results of actions, absorbs the sanchita and the agami of a free person, and if it's just generalized into the field, or as you suggested, maybe the free person does come back, and maybe this is a question of a junior student, and it really doesn't matter at all.
Yeah. So karma, yeah, it's not really absolutely necessary or how you say, it's not absolutely relevant to self-knowledge and self-inquiry, but it's good to understand these different aspects, especially if we have a doubt, and then we need to explore a little bit. Yeah? So what is the result of one's action? Because you said something like, I do actions and I want to reap the results. Yeah. If I do actions, those actions are going to produce results very intimately relate to me as well, to me, especially to me. But those actions are also going to manifest as Prarabdha karma or Sanchita. Sanchita first and Prarabdha karma later. Let's say that a very wise person, a Yani, and living in a cave, and then after years, and he decided, okay, I'm going to begin writing some scriptures here, some commentaries and this and that. And then after 100 years, some people find those beautiful scriptures written, you understand? So that is karma he did, that it remained for time being unmanifest until some people found it. And then it fructified as the Prarabdha karma, which is the result to the field. You understand? We are all reaping the result of the good souls because they leave it to the future generations. The whole of our sampradaya is based on people trying to preserve this. You understand? So when we do things, we are impacting everything else, not only our Prarabdha karma, but the Prarabdha karma of the others. But before we are having a conversation more about Papa karma. So because the results of actions, it really manifests when the actions were put and one is tied to the results. Okay, no, wait a moment here, Shwara, because I want to come back. I have put a lot of good actions there, and I need a bird to go there to collect some punya. I see some people enjoying down there with what I did, so I want to go there and enjoy that. So the Yani is not going to be interested in that punya. The punya is for society in general, okay? Before we are more having that conversation around Papa karma, exhausting Papa karma, you understand? So what are we going to do with that Papa karma? It has impacted other people and has impacted me. I felt bad when I did what I did. And I still feel bad now within myself, but I am no longer, I am identified with the doer and the one who is going to have to experience the results, you understand? And then only Shwara knows if one needs to come to exhaust Papa or not, you understand? Because it's all tied to one's desire to reap, to experience the results or not at all. I have had a few moments. I mean, often I present this idea that you can do mistakes, you can do wrong things, ugly things here and there as a Yani. And the simple fact that you understand your lower nature and knowing that you are subject to mistakes, you understand, it breaks any possible identification, okay? And then you are no longer really tied, it seems to be tied to having to exhaust that, as long as your motivations are pure and your understanding of the limitations of all human jivas is a fact, you know. Nobody is a real saint here, nobody is always right, and so on. So there are many things that play into these notions of karma, but all of this is based on a sense of being human. Our humanity is that aspect of our experience that tells us or gives us the sense of love and empathy towards the other lives and other beings. This sensibility, you know, that makes us caring and concerning with other, you know, people. So all of that is, it should grow. That's why the yoni, it should turn into gradually be a beautiful soul incarnated and sharing not only the knowledge, but sharing one's heart, one's love, one's appreciation, respecting others and giving something to others, even if it's a beautiful smile and a handshake, you understand, but do it with love. So this is what is the fructification of our spiritual elevation. It makes us beautiful, loving creatures, while we're still here. What better?
That settles my question just beautifully. Thank you.
Good. The subtle body is locked into this cycle of death and rebirth by the momentum of one's karma. This karma is the conglomeration of ingrained likes and dislikes, to put it in simple words, because the moment that we want what we want and we don't want what we want, and then we get wrapped up with the world of objects, and then we are totally identified with our likes and dislikes. And then we're going to build what is commonly known as vasanas, tendencies to repeat certain actions and avoid some other actions. And these likes and dislikes and accumulated tendencies, vasanas, that compel the subtle body to continue associating with a new birth, a new body. In order to keep working through one's karma, one's vasanas. So it's that simple. I want so many things. I have so many likes and dislikes, and I run out of time. And then my physical machinery is kaput, it broke. So immediately one say, hey, I need another machinery here. I need another instrument because I want to be back into the play. So we're gonna be asking for this continuation. These will be explained in greater detail in the section on karma. Great, we can work a little bit more on karma in the very soon here. It is lovely, this small booklet of Paramarthananda, because we can look into it on a superficial level. We can look at it more into the details. We go back next week to the causal body, and any question or sharing or contribution? Okay. Then we meet again soon, Ishvara willing. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Mudachyate Purna Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, my friends. It's nice to meet you. My last Mohicans. Mohican or Mohicans? How do you say? Huh?
Mohicans.
Mohicans. The last 4 Mohicans here in our group. We meet again soon. Much love.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Thanks, Alindo. Bye now.
Thank you.